Alrighty, footy fans, it's time for some more power rankings. ESPN have released their October version, so we can actually compare to what they put out in September and see who's gone up and who's gone down, which is probably the first time we've been able to do that with taking a look at power rankings. And look, I know that people are seeing power rankings and mock drafts left, right, and centre. And if you're sick of it, I apologise, but I think it's an important thing to look at because there's so many variations to how this can all look for us. And it's just fascinating. I think it's a good discussion point. So I'll bring up the power rankings now that ESPN have dropped the other day. So this came out on October the 8th, so 2 days ago now. And there's been a couple of changes in there, which is interesting. And I kind of wanted to try and tie this back to Ry Geeshen's conversation on Trade Radio, how he mentioned that we were still discussing and are comfortable with 10 to 15 players for this draft. Now, I did a little bit of asking around to see if we can find a bit more accurate information on this. There's a couple of names in here that we are comfortable with that I haven't really spoken about before, and there's maybe one or two that aren't on this list that we're comfortable about, according to people within the industry that we may be comfortable with. So I thought that was interesting as well, but we'll touch on them shortly. But looking at the ESPN power rankings, William Duursma remains at number 1. It almost seems like now it would be more of a shock if he didn't go 1 than if he did go 1. I don't think I've seen anyone else not have him at 1 yet. Doesn't mean it will happen. Plenty of things can change, but it seems like that's just as about as big of a lock as you can get at this moment in time. Zeke Uland at number 2, so he's shifted up from their previous ranking in September. Dan Annable in at number 3, who was gone down, to those two swapped over from September. And this is where the bidding stuff, I suppose, becomes interesting because, look, pick number 1, West Coast, or if Essendon trade up, whoever it might be, typically a bid won't come at pick 1. The clubs like to leave that for their actual number 1 pick, so they've got the prestige of it. I think their local junior club gets money as well and things like that. So we probably won't see a bid at pick 1, but we might start seeing bids at pick 2 and 3 and maybe even 4, especially when you've got Zeke Uland, Daniel Annable, and then even Dylan Patterson's another one that's up there as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see which clubs bid or which clubs leave the players alone, maybe with a little bit of a handshake agreement. But in at number 4, Cooper Duff-Tytler is now at number 4 in the power rankings. He has shifted up since September from number 5. Number 5 is Dyson Sharp, so he was previously 4, so they've just done a direct swap. And look, I know I've said that Cooper Duff-Tytler, I personally don't see how he fits in at Richmond with our current setup, but you can't help but be ultra impressed with the kid's testing results. I mean, he's putting out times and numbers that are midfield-esque, and that is a seriously attractive prospect. And even though I'm still on record as saying that I don't know whether he fits what our current side looks like, he would be incredibly difficult to ignore if he was still there at our pick 3. I can't see him getting through to pick 3, but if West Coast did go Duursma and Sharp as 1 and 2, for example, and Duff-Tytler was there at 3, given the mantra is usually best available, it's hard to see us not picking him, even though I don't necessarily fully agree with it. But I also think we would get a shitload of offers come through on draft day for that pick, which we could be able to fleece someone for, which would be of great interest to us from what we can tell from what Ry Geeshen and Blair Hartley have said. They're willing and open to trading our picks, but we have to win from the deal. So unless we're ripping someone off, we'll go into the draft with our 2 picks. But I think there could be a lot of people climbing for one of our picks on draft night. But yeah, Duff-Tytler is up at 4. Dyson Sharp, number 5. So again, this is now a power ranking that's got him in the top 5. And as we've spoken about previously, we've seen him at a whole range of different spots. Again, I think it would be difficult for us to pass up on Dyson Sharp. I'm led to believe he is one of the 15 that we have got genuine, serious interest in, which makes sense. That's not really a shocking news story, I guess. But yeah, he's definitely one that we will have to pay serious attention to if he's still there. Xavier Taylor has jumped up to number 6. He's one that's definitely dividing people's opinions, I guess. I think people are just not scared, but worried about taking a defender at that pick. I suppose from a Richmond point of view, I'm thinking more longer term. It's maybe a Vlosten replacement, and he's actually got speed as well. It's not like he's a lumbering defender. So it's almost like having two Luke Trainer types out there, which isn't the worst thing. And Xavier's got pretty neat skills too to go with it. He's another one that's definitely on our radar from what I've been able to ascertain. He'd be on a lot of clubs' radars. Again, not groundbreaking news, but he's someone that's definitely in the mix. Dylan Patterson down to number 7. He's the wild card for me that I'm kind of hoping that Gold Coast struggle a little bit points-wise. I know that he's an important play for them, and I know they're going to move heaven and earth to make sure they have enough points, but it comes down to this Petrarca deal and what happens there. If the Ds can somehow get a good deal and maybe leave the Gold Coast Suns having to scramble a little bit, it makes things really interesting, and it depends on when the bids come in as well. But I think, from what I've heard, there's a few clubs lining up the prospect of bidding on him in hope that he might slip through the cracks. And he has said that he's willing to play elsewhere too. So it's like a discussion's been had with him about this, and almost like he's being mentally prepared for it as being a possible option. Who knows? Sullivan Roby at 8, no change. Still the talk of the town. He's another one that is on our list of interest players. And he could be one that teams come for on draft day with a trade up. Maybe Essendon look to trade up. Sam Grill in at number 9. Same spot as their September power ranking. Now, I know I've said in the past that maybe pick 3 or 4 is a reach for Sam Grill. I think I'm starting to turn a little bit on that. After seeing the testing results, seeing that blend of his time with the 20-meter sprint, the agility, and the 2K time trial, it's a really unique fitness and speed and aerobic base that he's got that is really, really a big need for us. Skill-wise, he's been okay. He's not the best by foot, but I mean, I think there are things you can still work on and improve. And I guess if you cast your mind back to how he went at VFL level, for what it's worth, I actually think he performed better in our VFL side than he did at the Champs in under-18s. So maybe he's one of those players that as the game gets harder, he goes up into higher levels, that he adapts well and fits in at the level really nicely. So again, he's definitely one that's in the mix, and I'm just now starting to think that maybe it's not so much of a reach to get him at 4. Look, maybe it's a little bit needs-based, but I don't think he'd be out of place now in that top sort of 5 category in the open draft anyway for us. Harry Dean at number 11, who's gone up in the order since September, tied to the Blues, obviously. Aidan Schubert stays the same at number 12. Now, Aidan Schubert was actually one of the names that has been mentioned that is in our pool of players that we're really keen on. And I was really interested to hear this because I don't understand how he would fit in just because of the players that we drafted. It's similar to Duff Tytler. We've obviously got Armstrong, Fall, Sims. Sims might miss a few games because of this injury that he's picked up. But we're kind of covered for those types of players up forward. I guess if we're going on best available, that's why he would probably be in the conversation. I just thought he was an interesting name to have in the mix given his size. Lockie Doverston up to 13. He's shifted up quite a bit in these power rankings for ESPN. He is another one that is on our list, I'm led to believe. And I don't know whether that would be if we were to split picks and he would still be there, or whether we would be thinking to take him with one of our 2 picks. I'm feeling like it's the former, that we would take him if we were splitting. But yeah, he's going to pique a lot of interest for clubs with his speed. He actually got a really good vertical jump as well in the testing results too. So he's got some good springs in his heels. And yeah, he will be a hot commodity as a small forward, no doubt. Josh Lindsay down to 14. I'm fascinated to see where this kid goes on draft night. Noah Hibben-Targraves down to number 15. Again, he's one that I think we should have a look at with a split. Jacob Farrow remaining the same at 16. Mitch Marsh in at 17. He's moved up a couple of places. Oscar Taylor has moved up into the top 20. He wasn't in ESPN's top 20 previously in September. Oscar obviously had a very, very good combine, testing really strongly in pretty much all the major categories with the speed and agility. Combine results like that really put your name up in lights and give yourself a chance to get taken earlier. So I don't know whether he's in our landscape or what we want to look at, but I've got no doubt that another club will pick him up earlier than what was maybe expected prior to the combine. Ollie Greaves down to 19. It's a shame. I don't think he tested, which is a real shame. And Adam Swade in at number 20, no change, who was tied to Essendon. So There you go. That's ESPN's power rankings for October 8th. So a couple of changes from their September one. Things are starting to get a lot more interesting now. Obviously, we're in the middle of trade week still, so there's trades flying around, picks changing hands. And what will be interesting is to see how the power rankings and the mock drafts change once the trade period is done, as some picks may have shifted around since then. So, but yeah, a couple of players. The other player that has been mentioned as being in our mix is Jack Dalton, who did win the 2K time trial, as someone, who could be on our radar as well. But it was just interesting, Ry Geeshan saying that he was basically saying we were really comfortable with those 10 or 15 options. So that suggests to me that maybe it is really even, like we kind of feel like it is. And maybe we are open to being a bit more flexible with pick splitting as long as we win the deal, whatever that may look like. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with these power rankings? What are your power rankings? Have you got anyone that's jumped up in the last fortnight that maybe we haven't accounted for in different places? But yeah, hope you enjoy all the draft content. Make sure you like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you for the next one. Go Tigers.